This is the following Jesus story, the most important commandment, combined with the gift of the poor widow. Today we are going to tell two stories, and they both take place in Jerusalem. There are so many important things that happen in Jerusalem that we need a small piece of it to tell these stories. This is the temple. Once every year, the people of God go up to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of the Passover, to remember how God parted the sea and led them through the waters to freedom. Every year, Jesus and his family and friends went. But this year, Jesus had been doing such wonderful things and saying such wonderful things that the people wanted to know, who was he? Some of his disciples were with him. John, James, Peter. Now, as Jesus was teaching at the temple, the chief priests and the elders were trying to trick Jesus. They wanted to arrest Jesus and have him killed. They kept asking, "Who gave you authority to say what you say and do what you do?" And they kept on questioning him. One of the teachers of the law also came. He asked Jesus, of all the commandments, of all the 10 best ways to live, which one is the most important? Jesus answered, "The most important commandment is this: our God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." "You are right," said the scribe. "God is one. To love God with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." Jesus said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." I wonder how the crowds listening felt when they were listening to Jesus say such wonderful things and doing such wonderful things. I wonder how these same crowds feel when the chief priests and the elders question Jesus. I wonder how the priests and the elders feel as Jesus tells them what the most important commandment is: to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. I wonder why it might be hard for the priests and the scribes to love Jesus. I wonder how Jesus feels about the priests and the scribes and the elders and the teachers of the law. I wonder how God's people feel when they really love God with all their heart and they love their neighbor as their self. I wonder how you feel when you love God with every part of you. So now we are going to hear a second story. And this is a story about a woman who loved God with every part of her, with everything she had. And as I tell this story, I want you to watch for this red heart and let me know at the end where you saw it. Our next story also happens in Jerusalem, near the temple. Once a year, every year, the people of God would go up to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of the Passover, to remember how God had parted the sea and led them through the waters to freedom. Every year, Jesus and his family and friends went. This year, Jesus was at the temple, watching the crowd put their offerings into the temple treasury. His disciples were with him, John, Peter, and James. Many rich people were throwing lots of money into the treasury. Rich women were throwing money in. Rich men were throwing money in. Rich girls were throwing money in. And rich boys were throwing money in. One day, a poor widow came to the temple. When Jesus saw this, he said to the disciples, "Listen, this poor widow has put more into the offering than all the others. They gave out of their wealth. She gave out of her poverty. She put in everything. She gave all she had to live on." I wonder how Jesus feels watching the rich people throw money into the treasury. I wonder how they decided how much to put in. I wonder why this woman is poor. I wonder how the poor widow feels giving all she had. I wonder how she decided how much to throw in. I wonder how Jesus' disciples felt when they heard Jesus say, "This poor widow gave more than all the others." I wonder where we saw the greatest commandment in this story.